Hello and welcome to today's edition of Business Incorporated, live to you on Channels Television in Lagos. I am Bolaji Akinwale. Coming up, UK inflation rate slips in October. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opens at record highs on Tuesday. Plus, the International Monetary Fund removes remedial measures against Zimbabwe. Let's get started by taking a look at the UK's economy, where inflation measured by the Consumer Prices Index slipped to 0.9% in October from 1% in September. According to the Office for National Statistics, the inflation was below the 1.1% predicted by economists who said that the sterling's fall would push the number higher. However, prices for goods leaving factories rose by 2.1%. Costs faced by producers for raw materials and oil showed a record monthly jump in October, up by 4.6%. Earlier this month, the Bank of England forecasts that inflation would rise to about 2.7% by this time next year. And Asia's markets were mixed today as investors eyed the US dollar for guidance amid growing expectations of a Federal Reserve rate hike in December. Australia's ASX 200 closed down 0.37% at 5,326.2, dragged by its materials sub-index, which was down 1.05%, and its healthcare sub-index, which was also down 1.53%. The Nikkei 225 in Japan finished near flat, down 0.03%, likely taking its lead from the yen's direction. The Shanghai Composite closed down 0.11% at 3,206.73. China is due to release its October foreign direct investment figures later in the day. And the Kospi ended down in South Korea 0.35% at 1,967.53, while in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng gained 0.3%. And in Europe, stocks were higher also as the US dollar paused for breath after rallying, and Treasury yields held steady as traders digest what President-elect Donald Trump's policies will mean for inflation. Conrad Busen is DWTV financial correspondent, and he joins us from the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Conrad, it's great to have you on the show. Now, a raft of quarterly economic data out of Eurozone today. We saw Germany's economy slowing than expected, as trade also shows that it is sluggish. Italy is also on tap. What is the market expectation from these?
Well, of course, people on the markets had hoped for positive surprises. I have to tell you, there were a bit of small surprises, but they were not really bound to get a party going. The data from Italy looked slightly better than anticipated. Increase there of GDP during the third quarter was 0.3%. That was a bit better than expected. Here in Germany, we only saw a 0.2% increase of GDP during the third quarter compared to the quarter before. And the data from Germany is quite a concern for people here, because it shows that on the one hand, consumption remained robust, building remained robust, but on the other hand, the Federal Statistics Office says that the development of foreign trade had a downwards effect on growth, which means that our exporters got to feel a certain amount of, economic slowdown worldwide during the summer. Remember, the WTO, the World Trade Organization, reckons that this year will bring the slowest growth of world trade since the year 2009, and this was the year where the financial crisis and the recession afterwards was in full bloom.
Now, how long is the emerging markets decline over the past few sessions going to last? Are there concerns of these declines also for the frontier markets?
Well, yes, they are, because moving out by investors out of the emerging markets had to do with Donald Trump and the speculation what a Trump administration might mean for the rest of the world. Remember how Trump talked about that he wants to make the United States independent from OPEC.
Okay, we lost Conrad Busen as the WTV financial correspondent, talking to us from the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, trying to explain to us how the declines in emerging markets, talking about the equities market over the past few sessions, how it will last, how long it will take for the market to rebound. Thank you so much, Conrad. And to Wall Street, where U.S. stock index futures indicated a slightly higher open on Tuesday, with investors focusing on rising oil prices and the future policies of President-elect Donald Trump. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened at record highs, and with more details, let's get to hear from VOA's business correspondent Jill Malandrino in New York.
I'm Jill Malandrino. U.S. stocks opened slightly higher, with the Dow Jones hitting an all-time high. We're continuing on the momentum from the surprise Donald Trump win last week. In corporate news, several multi-billion-dollar deals were announced this morning. Let's quickly review the historic week that was, as it sets the tone for trade this week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at a record high on Friday, extending a rally after Trump's unexpected victory in the U.S. presidential election. Indexes also posted sharp gains for the week, with the Dow registering its biggest weekly percentage increase since December 2011. Just in 1 week, the average was up 958 points, with financials, industrials, and healthcare leading the way as Donald Trump supports deregulation. Small caps also surged as the Russell 2000 index posted its sixth consecutive winning session, capping its best week since December 2011 to also close at record levels. The big story is what's happening in the currency and bond markets, which have been volatile, with the dollar extending last week's gains against most rivals and the 10-year rising to 3%. We have not seen that level since January of this year. Now, Trump's transition and policy initiatives will continue to dominate headlines this week, but attention will also swing back to the Federal Reserve, which